Hello, hi, and welcome to this episode of the Mandy Mayer podcast. As per usual, this is the podcast where we chat all about your health and fat loss goals, and you just achieving all those bloody goals of yours. Why? Because you can achieve those goals. It's all up here. It's all about what you tell yourself. It's all about what you believe you can do. I was reading a post on social media the other day, not the other day, I think it was actually last night when I was going through some of my comments, which I should have never gone through. Anyway, the post was something about the grass isn't always greener on the other side. The grass is greenest where you water it. And I sat there and I was just thinking about it. And I'm like, that's the same with health and fat loss. And what I mean by that is oftentimes people out there, maybe even you, think that there's something better, think that there's a better form of exercise, or there's a better form of or time to eat during the day, or there's a better quick fix out there, or there's a better coach out there, right? And oftentimes what happens then is people will hop from one, I almost said job, because grass isn't greener on the other side when it comes to the jobs that we do. But oftentimes, like I said, it can be the same with your health and fat loss expedition, right? Where people tend to hop from quick fix to fad diet, from quick fix, fad diet from coach to coach to coach to, whatever it is, the best time to eat during the day, or, oh, that's the best for this. And meanwhile, all it actually takes, and I know it's not as easy said as done, but what it actually takes is you sticking to the basics, you creating consistency within the basics, which means is watering your grass, currently watering the grass where you are at, the things that you are doing, the basics of your health and fat loss expedition. Repeat those on a daily basis, water those, watch yourself grow, right? And again, a lot of the times people think, oh, the health and fat loss that you want is waiting at the next quick fix or the next fad diet. So as soon as you don't see a shift on that number on the scale, you might think, oh, fuck it, the basics don't work. And then you're going to skip to a 27.5-day fad diet that sees you fully restricting your calories. Then you'll do that for a couple of days and you're like, oh, the grass is very prickly. Yeah, maybe the grass is greener on the soup diet, for example. Then you might go and do the soup diet and you're like, oh, I don't actually like soup because now it's giving me diarrhea. And then you're like, oh, this grass is brown. I don't like it, yeah, and then maybe you move on to the next thing, right? And not oftentimes, I know that this is what it takes. It takes you figuring out the basics. It takes you setting up some basic daily non-negotiables for when it comes to your health and fat loss expedition. And it takes you repeating those daily non-negotiables, those basics, those, I want to say, healthy habit creations. It takes you doing that consistently, repeating the same things over and over, and not always being in search of the next best thing. So, like I said, the next best thing could be anything, the next best diet, the next best quick fix, the next best fad fucking machine out there for fat loss. And it really takes you looking at where you are currently at, looking at your current daily non-negotiables, and then executing those on a very, very consistent basis. So remember, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. The grass is greenest where you water it. So if you constantly find yourself looking for the next best thing, so the next best personal trainer or the next best, I want to say 6-week, 8-week challenge, whatever challenge it is, or the next best coach, take a look at where you're currently at, right? Or before you jump on the next best quick fix or the next best, I want to say, tablets or diet pills or whatever it is, look at where you're currently at and really, really ask yourself, are you executing the basics and are you doing it consistently? Now, I know many people will say, okay, this is great, Mandy, but what are the basics? And I can highlight the basics for you again, but if you go through all the content that I've put out, whether it's on my YouTube channel, whether it's on my podcast, on my social media clips, you will be surprised at how many times I'm purely just chatting about the very basics without, overwhelming anyone. And so again, it might just take that you do a little bit of refresher on the podcast episodes or go over to my YouTube channel or even read my Substack articles, because there I have posted about the very basics as well. But if we look at it now, your very basics would be your calorie goals. And I say calorie goals so that you can throw an eye over it and check where you're currently at with your calorie consumption. But if you're not tracking calories, fat loss can still happen. It can still take place. It just might be a little bit more difficult to structure your meals and your days to make sure that you are within a calorie controlled or on a calorie controlled plan. So for me personally, it's always good to have a little bit of an idea where you are currently at with your calorie consumption and does it align with your calorie goals. That doesn't mean you need to pedantically track your calories for the rest of your life, right? So it's just a good point to start off with at so that you can make more calculated choices. Then the second basic thing that I would definitely say is the quality of your food choices, right? So again, this doesn't mean that you're going to go cut out absolutely everything that's a fun food or fully restrict carbohydrates or whatever it is. So again, a lot of that might be forming under, say the fad diets or the restrictive diets, but your food quality, for me, what it means is making more nutrient-dense choices. So don't worry about a fucking banana. If a banana is what you want to have the banana. Make sure that it's part of your calorie-controlled plan. Or if you really feel like having a chocolate on a Wednesday and a Saturday night, incorporate that chocolate into your plan on a Wednesday and a Saturday night, for example, right? So number one, your calories are always going to be king when it comes to fat loss because you have to be in a calorie deficit for fat loss to take place. There's no other two ways around it. So that forms fundamental number one. Then number two is your food choices, right? And you want to be focusing more on the quality of your food choices and maybe about 20% of those food choices, making them more fun foods. But again, the higher quality, for the lack of better words, the higher quality your food choices, so the more nutrient-dense food choices you are making, the more you're going to adhere to your calorie goals, or the more you're going to adhere to eating less food, because the quality of the food that you are now consuming is higher and it's keeping you fuller for longer. And along with that goes number three, which is your protein and your fiber intake. If possible and where possible, look at just increasing that protein and fiber. And if you feel overwhelmed by that and it doesn't feel like it should be one of the basics, you don't need to pedantically track every single gram of protein or fiber. Just start with maybe one meal per day where you can look at increasing your veggies or look at increasing that protein. And if you're not ready to do so, focus on the other two basics first, right? And then get to basic number three. And then basic number four is your movement, your everyday movement. Where can you increase that? Where can you get a little bit more steps, like walking throughout the day? Where can you get a little bit more, like I said, just general movement throughout the day? It doesn't need to be one very specific exercise type or at a specific time of the day. Just gradually look at increasing your movement every single day. And honestly, those are the fundamentals that I would look at focusing on first and foremost. Now, are there other basics as well? Yes, I would definitely say have a look at your sleep, because your sleep plays a major role in how you show up for yourself the next day. But if you're not ready to yet look at your sleep and you feel that that is already overwhelming things, go back to the first couple of basics and focus on them. You will find just by having a look at your calories and understanding calories a little bit better, you're already going to make better calculated choices when it comes to your food, right? And I can tell you now, that's going to make a major change. Now, all you need to do is consistently execute those things, right? And therein often does lie a little bit of, I want to say, a tricky situation, for the lack of better words. And that's where you might be looking then at something like your sleep or whatever it is, right? But in the beginning, don't overwhelm yourself. Don't jump from diet to diet, and don't be an impatient little mofo being like, oh, the scale's not ticking. No, man. No. We're past that point already, okay? Focus on what you can control. And like I said, those basics are going to be the things that bring you the results. But I know oftentimes when that number on the scale isn't ticking, you immediately be like, well, these things just seem way too basic. And that's often where you then like, oh, what's the next best quick fix? Or what can I squirt in my eye? Don't be squirting anything in your eye. What can I be squirting in my eye? I shouldn't be laughing this much. Just so, by the way, for those of you that don't know, I had abdominal surgery a week and a half ago. So they found out that I have endometriosis stage 4. That's the short of the story. So if I laugh too hard now, it's still very raw inside there. So I mustn't make my own little cuck jokes, because then I'm going to laugh too much. So we digress. All I'm saying, guys, don't constantly be looking for the next best thing. Don't doubt yourself. Believe in yourself, right? Believe what you are doing is working. Be patient. Create consistency, right? Remember, it's about so much more than that number on the scale. It's about your health at the end of the day. And like I said, there's not one specific food that's the best for fat loss. There's not one specific amount of steps that you need to do every single day that is the best for fat loss. There's not a specific amount of days that it's going to take for any individual to lose 1 kilogram. It's about you showing up on a daily basis, you executing those non-negotiables, you creating healthier habits, and you doing that consistently, right? And not jumping from fucking challenge to challenge to challenge to winning a trip to Zanzibar to then gaining all the weight back because it wasn't done in a sustainable manner, etc., etc. Anyway, I'm waffling now. You can see I haven't had this microphone in front of me for a long time. Man, it was only a week, I know, but still. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to love and leave you guys like I usually do. Keep smiling, keep laughing, and keep being kind to one another. Much love, your friend who is really not still high on morphine, I promise. Mandy.